Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back or welcome to my podcast, Rewire to Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am very excited to be jumping on the microphone with you all for episode number 183. If you missed my last episode 182, 4 practical ways to improve your self-love, I definitely encourage you to check out that episode. 'Tis the season. December is often filled with a lot of excitement, a lot of eagerness. We embark on a new season. If you celebrate Christmas, it's Christmas time and the holidays. And I don't want us to lose touch with focusing on us and with self-love. And I think that this time of year, our mental health can be affected for so many various reasons. And I think any time of year is important, but specifically December, January, February, we see a hit in our mental health and in how we're doing. And so don't forget to just take a moment to check in with yourself to see how you're feeling and to make sure that you're prioritizing your mental health as we go into a new season, which is so exciting. Speaking of which, I wanted today's topic to kind of continue on the theme of focusing on that internal dialogue and how we talk to ourselves and how much that influences our life, but how so much of it can be subconscious. We're not aware of it. We don't notice that it's happening. And so today I want to talk about, are you making negative thoughts true? So I'm just super curious. I feel like I know the answer, but I like to frame it in a way of a question to allow you to ponder for yourself the truth of this. So do you find yourself stuck in, the tendency to focus on the worst case scenario of situations? You find yourself convincing yourself of all the ways things can go wrong, ways you're going to fail, why you shouldn't do things. We're really good at catastrophizing and thinking ahead of reality of what could go wrong. If that is you, and we're all guilty of this, but it comes in different degrees for all of us, you might be stuck in a catastrophizing state. And again, there's varieties of this. All of us are gonna have moments in life where we think of the worst case scenario and we do that for a reason. But if you find yourself every single day in every scenario thinking of all the things that could go wrong, you might be stuck in a catastrophizing state. I think of one client in specific that I worked with for almost 2 years, and he was my first client that I experienced that had such a wired brain to be a macro catastrophizer. Given his stories and experiences and traumas, it makes sense. But it was very much a learning opportunity for me as his counselor to learn the importance of rewiring those catastrophizing thoughts, because he was like an infinity loop. It's like nothing would change in his reality because his brain was always one step ahead of him. And if you find yourself on the high end of this spectrum, or really anywhere along the line, I definitely encourage you to seek mental health support. Seek talking about things that have impacted you, because all of us have reasons beneath why we catastrophize. And again, it's normal for a part of us to think of the worst case scenario because we're wired in that way. We know, and I share on here every single week, that we are wired to be negative. We are wired to think of the worst case. But when we pack on experiences and traumas and hurt and pain on top of that, it makes it so much more intense. I'm talking a lot with my hands this episode. I don't know why. If you're watching video, I'm definitely a hand talker. It just helps keep me in flow, but I hope that that's not distracting for anybody watching video. As always, today's episode, like all my episodes, come from experience. As someone who deals with, catastrophizing is my best friend. I don't know what scenario I have in my life where I'm not like, well, what is A, B, C, and D? And what is the outcome of that? And what is the outcome of that? A lot of this comes from having hypervigilant activities in my brain where I try to think 10 steps ahead to protect myself, right? A lot of this comes from childhood and from experiences in our life that have shaped us to think ahead so we can self-protect. And this has been showing up a lot for me in my relationship. This is the first time where I can say wholeheartedly, and I've been in healthy relationships before, but not like I am now. Not in the feelings that I have now. I've never been with someone and been like, that's my person, like I am now. And so of course my brain's like, well, let me tell you all the things that are gonna go wrong. Like, that's cute that you're happy and whatever, but like, here's all the things that are gonna go wrong. Because it's had to think of those things in the past. And what that's done is caused me to be anxious AF, to make up scenarios and stories in my head that aren't true, and to freak out at the thought and fear of losing him. And I'm gonna go through some ways today to support you through that, because it's been through those ways that I'm gonna share with you in a little bit that I've been able to work on this, and I now wanna talk about it because it's such a relevant thing. It's so easy to bring our past into our present, specifically in relationships, because we don't wanna get hurt. Our brain and our body, I say this all the time, and I cannot reiterate this enough, all they're doing is trying to love you and protect you. They remember the pain that you felt in your life. We have a part of our brain called the amygdala that is wired to associate things as a threat. And when anything pings or pokes at that, even if rationally we know it's not true, it sends signals as if we are in the deepest possible fear imaginable, as if the biggest threat is around us. Our body doesn't know the difference between what is actually a threat and what we have convinced ourselves is a threat. It has the same physiological response. And so it's important that we validate that for ourselves, that like, your experiences shape how you respond to experiences in the future. Your pain will dictate how you respond to things in the future. So of course, when certain things happen, my body's like, oh my God, protect, protect, protect. And it can be really scary and frustrating and annoying, quite honestly, because all you want to do is suppress that and make it go away, because sometimes our rational brain comes online and is like, well, I don't think that that's true, and I don't want to keep sharing all these issues. But that's what catastrophizing does. It's when we view a situation as worse than it is. We jump to the worst case conclusion, or we assume that our worst fears will come true. We may, like I said, catastrophize if we've had experiences in the past, experiences in our childhood, or if we have low self-esteem, or if we deal with mental health struggles like depression or anxiety. There's so many reasons why catastrophizing might be showing up in your life, but it's important to know and to recognize if you are also supporting those thoughts and making them more true. If you're allowing them to continue on that same path, to write the same story for you. Everything I talk about is about changing the way we think so that we can change the outcome for ourselves, rewiring our brain so that we can begin to process a little bit differently. And so I want today for you guys to leave feeling validated in that you're not alone. You are not alone even a little bit in the fact that you do this. We all do this. But it's also each of our own responsibility to take accountability for that and to do the necessary work to restructure that for ourselves and to create a different reality for ourselves. And so there's three main areas in which you will typically catastrophize. There's obviously infinite areas depending on your experiences, but the three main areas are: one, in school and in work. So for example, let's say you fail a test and then you catastrophize and you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to graduate. I'm not going to get a job. I'm never going to make an income. I'm never going to have a house. I'm never going to have a family. And we jump to these big conclusions. Or your boss sends you an email that says, can we talk, or an emergency meeting or something, and you catastrophize and go, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. I did something wrong. You start to convince yourself of all these things. So work and jobs, and school are definitely one area. The second, that I think a lot of us can relate to, is relationships. Especially if you've been hurt, or if you've been in a relationship before where something unexpected happened, or if you've witnessed in a relationship where something unexpected happened. That is probably the most common area in which we will start to catastrophize, is in our relationships. And so it's really, really important that we're aware of that. Because I know that I have past pain and traumas and hurt in relationships, I know that that does not directly correlate to truths about my partner now. And it is my responsibility to do the work and to notice that, so I'm not projecting that into my current relationship. The third area that is most common is health-related situations. So if we feel like something's off with our body, or we notice something different, it's really easy to start to catastrophize and think of the worst case scenario. It's like your classic, I have a headache as a woman, and you Google and it's like, you're pregnant or you're dying. Those are the answers, and then we catastrophize on that for hours and days and weeks until we stress ourselves out to the nth degree. Health-related issues are a huge area where we catastrophize. So, it's important to know how this can impact us. Catastrophizing, again, serves a purpose. It serves a purpose to a degree, but not when it's starting to affect our quality of life. It is impacting future greatness and future happiness because you're bringing the past with you into the present. And so it's important to know how it's impacting you. And so the first way it's impacting you is quite obvious. It's stressing you out. If an area of your life is causing you to catastrophize to the point where you are just stressed out and hypervigilant and overwhelmed, that is going to impact your mental health. That is going to impact your sleep, your digestion, your memory, everything in your body. Your cortisol is going to be off. And so your hormones are going to start to take a hit. Everything is just going to start to feel the effects of that. Stress does so much harm to our body. I've done episodes before about the impacts of stress. Even right now, it's like I can notice a twitch in my eye, and it's like, I know that that's stress. It's been a crazy busy day today. But catastrophizing stresses us out. The second way it can impact us is it doesn't allow us to be present. When there was a couple situations a few weeks ago where I was triggered and I was catastrophizing about something, and I shared that story on here before, I was not present. My partner would be like, what's up? What's wrong? What's bothering you? And I'm just like, nothing. And I wasn't present. I wasn't in the moment. It takes us away, because when we get triggered, that thinking brain's not online, which is what reiterates that those thoughts that aren't accurate. When our thinking brain's not online, we're not thinking logically. And that's why it's so easy to start to have all these worst case macro big scenarios, because we're thinking out of impulse and out of protection, not out of what is accurate and what has actual facts and data behind it. And so when we're not present, it can just make the situation worse. The third way that it can impact us is it can hurt our confidence. It can hurt our self-esteem, right? Like if we're thinking about something that makes us feel icky about ourselves or causes us to doubt ourselves, our confidence is going to start to take a hit. And when our confidence takes a hit, it just makes everything worse. I don't know about you guys, but when I feel down about myself, everything is just 10 times worse. My worst days, I've told my partner this before, I'm like, on the days that I'm like maybe not present or like seem off, I'm probably being negative about myself in my head, which often comes as a byproduct of catastrophizing about something. So those are the ways in which catastrophizing can really negatively affect us. But let's take a deep breath. Before we do, I want to talk about some ways that we can support ourselves with this. But before we do, I want you to maybe assess for yourself, what is the main area in your life that you catastrophize? Is it in your relationship? Is it with your job? Is it with money? Is it with your kids? Is it with your health? Where is it that you find yourself spiraling, and it ruins your day, and it ruins your mood, and it ruins you being present and enjoying your precious life because you're just so caught up and wrapped up in the worst case dang scenario? Where is that for your life? Identify it first. Get to build a relationship with it because it's trying to tell you something. So that is my first point of how we can support ourselves with this, is try to be present. Right now, stop and just notice what you're thinking. Notice the thoughts. Notice where your mind is going. Try to be present. When we are catastrophizing, we're not present. We're allowing one thought to ignite another thought to ignite another thought, and it's just this ripple effect that happens. Come back to your body. Be mindful. Notice, what room am I in? What am I doing? What do I see? What do I smell? What thoughts am I having? And just come back to the moment. That helps that rabbit wheel or hamster wheel, whatever you want to refer to it as, to just stop for a sec. It allows you to catch your thinking for just a minute. The second thing that you can do once you've done that is focus on the facts. Focus on what is actually true. Do you have evidence to back up your thought, or has your mind just painted a situation for you? We often have one thing that triggers it, which would be the fact. But then there's like 10 things that follow that are just completely irrational and not true. Notice what the facts are. Validate that for yourself. Write them down. I'm going through all the rest of them as I'm kind of sharing this, but that's what's helpful. The third thing, validate why you might be feeling that way. Every single time that I get triggered, that I'm like, I jump to a conclusion of my partner's going to fall in love with somebody else. He's going to be more attracted to somebody else. He's, going to just fall out of love with me. He's going to break up with me. He's going to cheat on me. All these things that just play in my head. I need to validate for myself that I'm feeling that way because I've experienced that feeling before, and it sucks and it hurts. My body just wants to do everything that it can to protect it because it remembers how much that hurt. Validate for yourself your experiences that are causing you to have worry and panic. It just allows us to validate for ourselves that you're not crazy. Because a lot of times when I feel that way, I'm like, Justin, you're being crazy. You don't have any facts to back this up. And it's like, no, this scenario, you don't have anything to back it up. But you do have experiences that would make this make sense. How can we lean into that and be vulnerable and notice where that's coming from and what it's trying to tell you? Number 4, reflect, journal, process. Get it out of your head and onto paper and slow down the thought process. If you're in an active moment of catastrophizing, I cannot stress enough the value of going to pen and paper or typing, but pen and paper is better, and writing it out. I'm feeling this. This is how I'm feeling. These are my thoughts. I'm feeling them because of this. You'll notice such a different conversation happening from your pen to paper than you would from your ear to ear thinking, that internal thought. Because it's slowed down and it's allowed to be more rational. And then as you're writing it, you're like, this is a little bit inaccurate. This might not be as true as I thought. Reflecting and journaling. And again, talking to someone about your past. I cannot reiterate enough the importance of, even if you're in a good place, you likely have stuff in your past that has hurt you, that is sitting in your body, that is just waiting to be poked or triggered. Communicating and getting things off our chest in a mental health lens with someone you trust is so underrated and is just so impactful on our lives. The last one that I have of ways that we can support ourselves is vulnerable communication. In all of those areas, it's likely something that's out of your control. Your relationship, the way your partner's going to act, the way your boss is going to act, a result waiting to come back. These are likely all things that are out of your control. By vulnerably communicating how you're feeling, leaning on those that care about you. If you're stressed about something, communicating that. Email your boss and say, hey, this is really throwing me off. I'm just wondering if I can have some context around what this meeting is going to be about. Saying, hey, to your partner, I'm feeling really anxious and I'm wondering if we can talk about that. It's not something that's easy for me to talk about, but I think that if I get it off my chest, it'll make it a little bit easier. Those that care about you and that are right to be in your life will listen and support and validate your experiences. I heard someone say the other day, learning about your partner's past as like a roadmap that allows you to learn how to properly and accurately guide them and support them. And I was like, I really like that. We think that we're a burden. We think that we are these, annoying things. But if you're feeling that way, there's no better way than to process that and calm those thoughts down than to get them off your chest and to lean into being vulnerable. And so that is the last one, is vulnerable communication. I love this topic because as someone who deals with overthinking every single day of my life, it does get better and it does get easier and it does become less extreme and your thoughts begin to have less power. Once we begin to notice them and catch them and challenge them, it does start to get easier. You'll learn to stop buying all your thoughts and saying, yep, I'm noticing that, validating where it's coming from, but I'm not going to choose to buy it and allow it to stress me out. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, leave some feedback below, review this show, share it with someone you think would enjoy. It just really, really helps me out and helps me to grow this show. I redid my intro and outro. I changed my logo a little bit. We are rebranding, as I've been sharing over the last couple of episodes, and I'm just really, really excited. We're almost at 200 episodes. We still have a little space to go, but we're almost there. And I'm just really excited and honored that I get the honor and privilege to be able to jump on here twice a week and share my message and to have you guys tune in. And I just hope that it's impactful and I hope that it reaches your heart and that you know that people are out there that care, and that I just want you to know that you're not alone. That is my biggest message of day one since starting this podcast, is that you're not alone, and I hope that you know that and feel that. And so I'm just sending you guys so much extra love. Happy December. Crazy 1 month left until the new year. Let's start momentum now. Let's get things rolling now, right? Let's not wait till January 1st to set those new goals or to go for something or to chase something or start that conversation, whatever it is. Find a way to take action now. You're so worthy, you're so capable, and I'm so proud of you. And I look forward to chatting with you all on Thursday. Bye, you guys.